Imagine living inside a tiny prison cell for nearly 3 decades, a room so small that you could stretch out your arms and almost touch both walls, a place where each sunrise looked almost identical to the last, where hard labor, cold nights, and silence became part of everyday life. Most people would leave such a place broken, but one man walked out stronger than when he entered. He walked through the prison gates with gray hair instead of black, with wrinkles replacing youth, yet carrying something far more powerful than anger. He carried forgiveness. Within only a few years, that same prisoner would become the president of the very nation that had imprisoned him. His name was Nelson Mandela. His story is not simply about politics or power. It is about patience, courage, sacrifice, and the extraordinary strength of the human spirit. Today, we travel across the landscapes of South Africa to uncover the remarkable journey of the prisoner who became president. To understand Nelson Mandela, we must first understand the world into which he was born. South Africa is a land of breathtaking beauty. Golden grasslands stretch toward distant mountains. Massive elephants wander through ancient forests. Waves from 2 great oceans crash against rugged cliffs. Yet beneath this beauty lay deep divisions. For centuries, European colonial powers had controlled much of southern Africa. Over time, a system developed that separated people according to the color of their skin. In 1948, this system became official government policy. It was called Apartheid. Under Apartheid, millions of black South Africans were denied basic human rights. Families were forced from their homes. Schools, hospitals, buses, beaches, restaurants, and neighborhoods were divided by race. Voting was restricted. Freedom of movement was controlled. An entire nation lived under laws designed to keep one group powerful while another remained oppressed. It was within this difficult world that a young man named Nelson Mandela began asking dangerous questions. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the tiny village of Mvezo. His birth name, Erlalila, carries an unusual meaning in the Xhosa language. It can be translated as pulling the branch of a tree, but people often interpret it more playfully as troublemaker. Perhaps destiny had already whispered something about his future. Mandela belonged to the Thembu royal family. Although not destined to become king, he grew up surrounded by stories of wise chiefs, tribal traditions, and community leadership. As a young boy, he listened carefully to elders settling disputes beneath large trees. There were no grand courtrooms. Instead, everyone had a chance to speak before decisions were made. These childhood memories quietly shaped Mandela's lifelong belief that every voice deserved to be heard. Later, he attended missionary schools where a teacher gave him an English name. That name was Nelson. Education opened new worlds. Books introduced him to law, justice, philosophy, and history, but they also revealed something painful. The ideals of freedom written inside those books did not match the reality outside the classroom. Curiosity slowly transformed into determination, and determination would eventually change a nation. As a young lawyer in Johannesburg, Mandela witnessed the harsh realities of apartheid every single day. People were arrested simply because they entered the wrong neighborhood. Children received unequal education. Families lived under constant fear. Mandela joined the African National Congress, known as the ANC, to challenge these unjust laws. At first, protests remained peaceful. Marches filled the streets. Petitions were written. Communities organized together. But the government's response became increasingly violent. After the Sharpeville massacre in 1960, where police killed dozens of peaceful protesters, Mandela concluded that peaceful resistance alone was no longer enough. He helped establish a military wing known as Umkhonto weSizwe, meaning Spear of the Nation. Their goal focused mainly on sabotage against government facilities while trying to avoid loss of life. Soon, authorities captured Mandela. During the famous Rivonia Trial in 1964, he delivered one of history's most remarkable courtroom speeches. He declared that he had fought against white domination. He had fought against black domination. He dreamed of a democratic society where everyone lived together with equal opportunity. Then came the unforgettable words, "It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." Instead of execution, Mandela received life imprisonment. His new home became Robben Island, The prison stood isolated in the cold Atlantic Ocean, visible from Cape Town yet impossibly far away. Inside its limestone quarry, Mandela and other prisoners worked beneath the burning African sun. The white dust damaged their eyesight, the labor exhausted their bodies, letters from family were heavily censored, visits were rare. Years passed, then decades. Outside the prison walls, the world slowly changed. International pressure against apartheid continued to grow. Students protested, musicians organized concerts, governments imposed sanctions. Across continents, Mandela's name became a symbol of hope. Finally, on February 11, 1990, after 27 years behind bars, the prison gates opened. Millions watched live television broadcasts. The world saw an elderly man walking hand in hand with his wife, Winnie Mandela. There was no bitterness on his face, only quiet dignity. 4 years later, South Africa held its first democratic election in which citizens of every race could vote together. Nelson Mandela became the nation's first black president. The prisoner had become the leader of his country. Many people imagine Mandela spending every prison day filled with anger. The truth is surprisingly different. He studied constantly. He earned a law degree through correspondence courses despite prison restrictions. He exercised daily inside his tiny cell, performing hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups to keep both body and mind strong. Mandela also learned the language of many prison guards. He believed understanding another person's language opened the door to understanding their heart. One unexpected friendship developed between Mandela and several prison officials. Over time, respect slowly replaced hostility. Perhaps even more remarkable, Mandela often invited his former opponents to conversations after becoming president. Instead of seeking revenge, he sought reconciliation. This choice surprised the world. Like many great historical figures, Nelson Mandela became surrounded by stories that grew larger than life. Some people claimed he possessed almost supernatural patience. Others described him as a leader who could calm a room simply by entering it. One popular story tells of Mandela remembering the names of ordinary workers years after meeting them. Whether every detail is perfectly accurate remains uncertain. Yet these stories reveal something important. People wanted to explain an extraordinary character using extraordinary tales. His greatest legend, however, was not magical at all. It was the belief that forgiveness could become stronger than hatred. That idea continues to inspire millions today. Modern psychology has become deeply interested in leaders like Nelson Mandela. Researchers studying resilience have found that individuals who maintain a strong sense of purpose often endure extreme hardship better than those who lose hope. Mandela's prison years provide a remarkable example. Instead of allowing imprisonment to define him, he transformed those years into preparation. Scientists also study forgiveness and its effects on mental health. Research suggests that forgiveness does not erase painful memories. Rather, it reduces the emotional burden carried by those memories. Mandela understood this long before modern psychology explored it in laboratories. His famous words reflected this wisdom. He once said that resentment is like drinking poison while hoping someone else will die. History leaves behind more than written documents. It leaves places. Robben Island still stands today. Visitors can walk through Mandela's prison cell. The room remains astonishingly small. A simple mat once served as his bed. A bucket functioned as his toilet. A few basic items filled nearly all the available space. Nearby lies the limestone quarry where prisoners spent countless hours breaking rock beneath the blazing African sun. These preserved locations act as archaeological evidence of apartheid itself. They allow historians to examine physical spaces where human rights were denied. Museums across South Africa also preserve original prison records, letters, photographs, and courtroom documents connected to Mandela's life. Together, these artifacts transform memory into tangible history. Historians continue debating what made Mandela's leadership so effective. Some argue that his greatest strength was strategic thinking. Others believe emotional intelligence mattered even more. Another theory suggests that 27 years in prison unexpectedly strengthened his influence. Had Mandela remained free, he might have become just another political leader. Instead, imprisonment transformed him into a global symbol. Some scholars also point to his willingness to include former enemies in rebuilding South Africa, rather than creating winners and losers. Mandela encouraged shared responsibility for the nation's future. This approach helped prevent even greater violence during one of history's most delicate political transitions. Even today, certain questions remain unanswered. How did Mandela maintain hope through 27 years of isolation? What private fears did he hide from the world? Were there moments when he doubted he would ever leave prison alive? Many of his deepest thoughts remained locked within himself. Another mystery concerns the extraordinary transformation of those who once opposed him. How did one man inspire respect among both supporters and former enemies? Perhaps the answer lies beyond politics. Perhaps it rests in something profoundly human: the quiet power of dignity, the courage to forgive, the refusal to surrender one's principles even when freedom disappears. These invisible qualities cannot be measured like buildings or artifacts, yet they often shape history more than armies or governments. As the African sun slowly sets beyond the horizon, long shadows stretch across Robben Island. The waves continue striking the rocky shoreline exactly as they did during Mandela's imprisonment. The prison walls still stand, the tiny cell remains. Time has preserved these places, reminding future generations of both cruelty and courage. Nelson Mandela's life teaches us that freedom is not only the absence of chains, it is also the presence of hope. Power is not measured by how many people obey you. It is measured by how many people trust you. Forgiveness is not forgetting the past, it is choosing not to let the past imprison the future. History often remembers kings for the lands they conquered, it remembers generals for the battles they won. But Nelson Mandela is remembered for something far rarer. He conquered hatred without becoming hateful himself. From a lonely prison cell overlooking the cold Atlantic Ocean emerged a leader who changed not only a nation, but the moral imagination of the world. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. Sometimes, the strongest walls are not the ones built from stone, they are the ones built inside the human heart. And sometimes, the greatest act of freedom is finding the courage to tear those walls down.